This is The Georgia Vote with Faith Jesse and Zach Merchant.
An attempt on the life of the former president, sending shockwaves across the country and reorienting the race for the White House with just months to go before the election. This edition of The Georgia Vote is dedicated to breaking down what happened, what comes next, and what it means for this country. Now, previously planned reporting for this show, including our interview with State Senator Jason Estevez, will air at a later date. So let's start here in western Pennsylvania, where a gunman opened fire at former President Donald Trump at an outdoor rally. He took the stage just after 6 p.m. Eastern time last night, waving to the cheering crowd of supporters, soon settled into delivering his speech. The former president was about 6 minutes in, describing a nearby chart displaying border crossing numbers when the shooting began.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
You saw the former president grab his ear as he went down there as Secret Service agents swarmed and covered him. In a post on his Truth Social website, Mr. Trump described what happened next. He says, quote, "I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening." Those are the words of former President Donald Trump. He released another statement this morning saying, quote, "We will fear not." As Secret Service agents begin to take him away from the stage, the former president stood up. Blood could be seen on his face. Mr. Trump put his fist up in the air several times as agents led him off the stage and into a waiting SUV. Those who were in the crowd described the shock of the moment.
I heard pop, pop, pop. I thought it was like a cap gun. And my son's like, "God, get down." And next thing you know, everybody around us was down. And then once we got down, we were up at the top of our bleacher. The men were yelling to all the snipers and all the cops to come over.
State police and a SWAT team, started evacuating the bleachers, and then I helped carry the man out of the bleachers to a tent that was behind the bleachers.
You helped carry the man yourself. What was his condition when you were carrying him?
He's deceased.
I pray to God for these people's families. Oh my God. But how is this happening in our country today? And why? Why is it happening?
And overnight, we got a glimpse of former President Trump walking off his private plane after landing at Newark Airport. The video posted by an aide showed the former president flanked by Secret Service agents and heavily armed members of the agency's counter-assault team. Multiple reports say the former president spent the night at his private golf club in nearby Bedminster, New Jersey. What we know is that besides the former president, 3 people were shot. 1 person was killed and 2 other spectators were hurt. The Secret Service said it killed the suspected shooter, who the agency said attacked from an elevated position outside the rally grounds. Overnight, the FBI named the suspect as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks from Pennsylvania. At a briefing early this morning, state police said it's working to investigate what happened, and that investigation continues.
At this time, we have no reason to believe that there is any other existing threat out there. We are doing everything we can to make sure that this is thoroughly investigated, and that if there is any information developed that anyone else was involved, that between PSP and the FBI, that will very quickly be followed up on.
Soon after that shooting, former President Trump, presumed opponent in the November election, President Joe Biden, said that everybody must condemn the assassination attempt. The president made his comments roughly 2 hours later at his vacation home in Delaware. The White House said he later spoke with the former president, then returned to Washington. President Biden wasted no words in decrying this act of violence at a campaign event.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. Everybody must condemn it. Everybody.
Almost immediately following that shooting, many of Georgia's lawmakers shared their comments and their concerns. Last night, Doug Richards with the 11 Alive political team talked with State Republican Party Chair Josh McCoon, who expressed his shock at what happened.
A sense of relief that the president appears to be okay. We're obviously praying for him and hoping that he, fully recovers. I know he's being checked out at the moment. But that's where we are. We're relieved that he appears to be okay, and we're obviously all praying for him. Yeah, that's obviously a great shock, and just, again, shock and then followed by relief that he appears to be okay.
Governor Brian Kemp mourning for the, quote, innocent life taken at the Pennsylvania rally. In his tweet on X, he added, "I am deeply thankful for the Secret Service's swift action to keep former President Trump and rally-goers safe." Drew Ferguson, representing Georgia's 3rd Congressional District, called what happened a cowardly attack on President Trump and says his thoughts and his prayers are with the former president, Melania, and their entire family. And Gabriel Sterling, Chief Operating Officer in Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office, saying political violence has no place in America ever. Glad that former President Trump is okay, praying no one else has been injured. This was a heinous act. We have our political fights with ballots, not bullets. Georgia Senator John Ossoff saying he also condemns the despicable act of violence and prays former President Trump makes a full recovery. The senator thanked the Secret Service for its response and added, political violence is never acceptable and can never be tolerated. And the Reverend Raphael Warnock echoing his Senate colleague who says, in America, we settle our political differences democratically, not violently. I am deeply saddened by today's events in Pennsylvania. I condemn any violence aimed at former President Trump in the strongest terms and pray for him, his family, and our nation. We are better than this. There is a lot that goes into safeguarding the president and former presidents of the United States, their families, and those who are around them whenever they are out in public. It's especially difficult when events are outside and not contained to a specific indoor area. In fact, Saturday marked the first attempt to assassinate a president or presidential candidate since Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981. On that day, President Reagan was leaving a Washington, D.C. hotel when a gunman, later identified as John Hinckley, fired several shots from a revolver. Reagan was hit by a bullet which bounced off the side of his limousine. 3 other people were wounded, most seriously, Press Secretary James Brady, who was paralyzed. To get some more perspective into what happened Saturday from the Secret Service's perspective, 11 Alive's Angelina Salcido talked with former Secret Service agent Bobby McDonald. Their conversation came just a few hours after that shooting in Pennsylvania.
First thing I thought of was this is what the Secret Service trains for every day. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of after action, a lot of investigation here to see what the Secret Service did well, what the Secret Service didn't do well, and how we can move forward and ultimately tweak our protective methodologies to make sure nothing like this happens again.
Everyone's question is probably going to be, how did this happen? How was this able to happen?
Great question, and that's exactly what we're going to need to find out.
If you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
We want to be able to, again, develop a very quick cocoon around the president so that we know that he is safe and sound. They are communicating with him on the ground, and they're taking a slight pause. It wasn't a long pause, but it was a slight pause so that the asset that was able to fully negate the perpetrator here was able to communicate with the shift around the former president. Hey, the perpetrator is down. Now is a safe time to move. So again, done in a textbook fashion.
When a rally is held in an area like this, where it is outdoors, and it's not something that's contained to a specific area or like an event center, does that make it harder to secure?
Outdoor events are very, very difficult. However, the Secret Service knows what it's doing. It has the protective methodologies and assets and personnel to be able to provide what it believes is a very secure environment.
That's Angelina Salcido with the 11 Alive political team reporting. We also talked about the security of future events like the upcoming Republican National Convention, which is scheduled to start tomorrow. He said security will be stepped up, but not too much because of how much planning already goes into an event like that. He added that what may be a short-term change is if either former President Trump or President Biden hold any outdoor events leading up to the November election. This story is still developing, and 11 Alive has you covered. Head right now to our homepage for our extensive coverage on this story with many more details likely to come out today.